Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And when you go to apply and they ask you, how did you hear about Podgo? Make sure you tell them that the Vault Classic Music Review sent you.
Welcome to the Vault Podcast, Classic Music Reviews, presented by IV Creative. Now, here's your hosts, B. Cox and the crew.
Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Vault Classic Music Reviews podcast. It's your boy B. Cox in the building. Hope you all are enjoying your Labor Day weekend as we celebrate yet another holiday. And for this Labor Day, we have a treat for a new episode of The Vault. It is a bonus segment that we like to call Tale of the Tape. Now, for those of you not familiar with the Tale of the Tape segment, it's when we take two artists or two groups, take their catalogs and match them up against each other in a boxing scoring format. Meaning we take each album from each artist and put them up against each other. First album versus first album, second versus second, third versus third, and so on. Our very first Tale of the Tape occurred earlier this year. We actually did one between Outkast versus A Tribe Called Quest, one of the more popular episodes that we had, and we did that as a live show back in April. And in this edition of Tale of the Tape, we are pitting Nas versus Jay-Z. Yes, the matchup that everybody wants to see, hear about, and debate. One of the hottest contested debates over the last 2 decades between these two MCs. So I got together with our boys J.O. and Damo, and we sat down and we got this together. We went ahead and looked at the 13 albums that Nas and Jay-Z both had, 13 for 13, did it over 13 rounds, scored the matchups, and then came up with our totals. Now, we had quite a time debating this, so what we went ahead and did is we did all 13 rounds. What you are hearing today is part 1 of Tale of the Tape with Nas versus Jay-Z. You are going to hear rounds 1 through 6 today. We're breaking this up into 2 parts because we had such a long conversation. We didn't want to leave everything out, yet we didn't want your ears to get fatigued listening to it for so long. So coming up now, what you are about to hear is part 1 of Tale of the Tape, a bonus episode for the Vault Classic Music Reviews. Rounds 1 through 6, Nas versus Jay-Z. And here's how it went down. And what we have now here on this Labor Day weekend, giving you a treat, is another edition of Tale of the Tape. And gentlemen, what we have here today is literally the rap version of Civil War. Talking about the Marvel movie Civil War. We have the matchup that so many people have wanted to see, and that is probably one of the hottest contested debates of the last 20 years. In this edition of Tale of the Tape, we have 2 rap titans, 2 of the best of all time, and 2 artists that have definitely had one of the most interesting storylines when it comes to each other. I'm talking none other than, out of the red corner, Queensbridge, New York, we have Nasir Jones, better known as Nas, better known as Nasty Nas, better known as Escobar, better known as God's Son. In the blue corner, fighting out of Marcy Projects in Brooklyn, we have Sean Carter, better known as Jay-Z, better known as Jigga, better known as Hova. I don't know if I'm missing any other
nicknames.
Better known
as the God.
Better known as the God.
God MC.
Right. All of that, which I don't think he gets to call himself God MC because there's only one God MC, and that's Rakim. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. So there we have it. Tale of the Tape. Nas versus Jay-Z. Guys, this is something that we have had a debate on this literally since the year 2000. And ever since they had their epic beef in the early 2000s, starting in 2000 really, which started on the Queensbridge Finest album, which stretched into Blueprint and then stretched into Stillmatic, which carried on all the way into 2005 When they finally stopped their beef with each other and reconciled, Jay then signed Nas to Def Jam after he was not re-signed by Columbia, released a couple of albums under Def Jam, and since then have remained friends, but still competitors. Now, we talked about this.
Well,
and
hey, B, let me stop you. I was listening to my Hard Knock Life Volume 2. No, it started there. Jay threw shots in one of the songs on there. And I was like, oh. And back then, I don't think we noticed it because we just listened to the lyrics and we don't know no better. You know what I'm saying? When we get older and then you know the backstory and you hear something like, hold on, I went back, listened to this, I said, oh, this nigga was talking about Nas. And then on the next, you had the round set up, Nas replied. But back then, we was too young to not even know no better until it was evident that it was beef.
Yeah. You know, some people say that Hate Me Now, that Jay was throwing some subliminals at Jay-Z. Like, a lot of people think that he was talking primarily to Cormega. I took it as though he was talking to Cormega on Hate Me Now, especially because of the lyrics was in there. But I think that he was sort of maybe throwing some subs at Jay-Z. But I think for sure we knew that the beef ratcheted up between them definitely in 2000 heading into 2001. And it was made no less obvious on Takeover when we finally realized that Jay was coming at Nas. Now, people don't know that the H to the MO, what Nas said, which was the freestyle that he did, that was definitely taking a shot at Jay-Z, but the majority of people didn't know about that. By the time Takeover came out, we knew Jay was coming at Nas because he had a whole verse dedicated to him. And then Nas came out with Ether. And that was it. That's the only thing I think I need to say about that. And despite... Yeah. And now, despite all the things that people will say about Takeover versus Ether, that they said that it's facts versus insults, I don't necessarily think I buy into that, because Jay was insulting Nas on that and on Takeover, and Nas was definitely spitting some facts on Ether that people don't want to recognize. I mean, that was true at that particular time. Some of the things that people don't want to necessarily, okay, the line that Eminem murdered you on your own shit. Like, people have revisionist history. People are now saying, oh, Jay ain't really for real. Like, the hot take now is that Jay ain't really get murdered by Eminem on his own track. Did Jay do better than how people think he did? Yes, I think he did better than people think he did. But, like, come on, let's be honest about this. M did murder that nigga on that track. Like, he did. True. Now, other true fact on there, too, is that while no one will ever say that Beanie Siegel is better than Jay-Z, but the line when he said, compared to Beans, you whack, had some truth in it in this respect. We all know that there were a few times when Beans got on the track with Jay-Z when he got him. Like, we all can understand that, right? Like, we do know this. Like, Beans got on a track with Jay and definitely got him on a few of those tracks. And of one of those albums in particular that we'll talk about, he definitely got Jay on a few of those tracks. So while it was 100% true, go ahead.
It might have been every time. It might have been every time.
Yeah. I'm trying to be polite, Damo. Yeah.
Because it might have been every time. Because it seemed like it ratcheted up whenever Beans jumped on. It was like, ooh, your face turned even, whoa, shit, no, ooh. Yeah, he might have got, matter of fact, motherfuckers started thinking that Beans was writing for Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember hearing
I remember that was a rumor.
Yeah, I remember hearing some of that too, but but there were the whole thing about Takeover versus Ether. I mean, shoot, the people spoke. The people thought Ether was a better diss track than Takeover. There were other diss tracks after that. You know, there was the track on Blueprint 2 that Jay did. There was also Super Ugly. But then Jay, Nas, I think, pretty much ended the majority of it when he did Last Real Nigga Alive. And I think that's the one track out of all of them that I think that Nas pretty much went for Jay's neck and didn't necessarily behead him with the guillotine, but he came up behind him with the knife to his neck and just slyly slit that joint and let him bleed out. Because I think after that track, I don't think Jay after that was like, all right, it's time to move on to other things. And then eventually they made up. Now, some of the talk coming out, especially in this last album that Nas put out, which was King's Disease, which just came out a couple of weeks ago, people noticed that after a certain time, Jay has released music almost at around the same time that Nas has released music.
Same day, next day.
Same day, the next week, right around the same time period, same month.
It's been the next day it's been the next day or the same day every time.
Yeah, Nas has talked about that on his Breakfast Club interview he did when they were like, yo, you don't you think it's crazy Jay has released music around you? He's like, yo, you think it's something to that? And Nas was just like, nah, I just think it's a big coincidence. But I don't think he really believes that shit, though. Like, I don't.
You're just trying to play it civil.
Yeah. I mean, because he don't want to bring nothing else up. At this point in their career, they both cemented themselves at God MC level status. They've both sort of have established themselves as in top tier of the best rappers of all time. And they both getting money now. Now, Jay's money, I mean, Nas's money is not where Jay's money at right now, but he's finally starting to get there to the point where he's getting into wealth and not just being rich. It's a lot of different ways you can take it. But nonetheless, we have our tail of the tape. So enough talking about the background. We all know the background. If you listening to hip hop, you know the background between Nas and Jay-Z. And there's some parallels when we talk about albums that came out, namely between Reasonable Doubt came out a week before it was written came out. I'll talk about when we get into round 3. The impact of an album that didn't actually make it to the streets, made its way to the streets, but didn't make its way into stores, and how this impacted this matchup. So we'll get into that. So here we are. Tail of the tape, you got it. You know what it is, Nas and Jay-Z. So now we're going to go into round 1. And round 1 is probably, I would definitely say you both agree with me, the hardest round to score. I think it's the hardest round to score when it comes to any one of these matchups because, in my opinion, it's the best album that either one of them have put out. My opinion. Now, other people may say otherwise, but I think this is the best album that they both put up. So, in round 1, what do we have? We have Nas, Illmatic, and we have Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt. On the list of greatest hip-hop albums of all time, you'll find these at or near the top, where they need to be. So particulars about each album. Illmatic, released April 19th, 1994. Runtime of 39 minutes and 51 seconds. You know the producers that were on there. Premier, Pete Rock, Large Professor, Q-Tip, LES, MC Search. You know the accolades of Illmatic, released on Columbia Records. Reasonable Doubt came out on Roc-a-Fella Records, June 25th, 1996. You know the producers on there as well. Clark Kent, Premier, Irv Gotti, Ski, Nobody. I mean, you know the producers on here. It's if you're a hip hop fan, you know the particulars of both of these albums. Mm-hmm. This is the opening round. Now, I don't know if you can talk about, I would have to say probably Hagler and Hearns, where you talk about early action in a boxing match to see how wild things can get. This, to me, is the equivalent of the start of Hagler and Hearns, this matchup here with round 1. So Illmatic versus Reasonable Doubt, round 1. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to start with you, Jay, and we're going to get how you scored this round and then give us an analysis slightly of how you scored this round and why. So round 1, Illmatic versus Reasonable Doubt. What do you have?
I basically got Nas winning that one. And basically the way I scored it was like, you know, the themes of the album, like, and basically just like that gritty New York hip hop that at the time, you know, really wasn't, I don't want to say it was prevalent, was actually just coming back into relevance. Cause you got to think like 94, that was like when the West Coast was still running the scene. So like, you know, even ahead of Biggie, Nas really was like instrumental as far as like bringing that attention back to the East Coast. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, with lyricism, I mean, Brian, I'm pretty sure you remember Damo, like, you know, one of the things that people kept saying about Nas, like he was like the second coming of Rakim, back to your point as far as being a God MC. Mm-hmm. Production, I mean, just my God, like you had like all the heavyweights on there, you feel me? Mm-hmm. The commercial success, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna look at as I don't know if it's gonna be the same as far as like critical acclaim, but like I would say it was a commercially successful album in the sense that, you know, it basically garnered all this attention. It really put Nas on the path to be cemented as a incredible MC. And as far as the original content, I mean, especially like bars, I mean, you think about, I mean, some of the joints even like just staying out to me now, like, you know, and people have also quoted like, I never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. And then y'all niggas is born, I shot my way out. My mom dukes, like those type of bars, mm-hmm. like, yeah, I mean, really set the stage for, like, you know, other artists to come. Even, I would even say all the way to like a Eminem, as far as his shock value was like stuff. I'm pretty sure Eminem heard that and was like, you know, was inspired by that and, you know, to make his material. But then, let me see, as far as original content, yeah, I would say it's all original. I mean, of course, I'm not talking about samples or anything like that, but And just going through the list here, as far as like, I mean, definitely has replayability, and then the production was top notch. And as far as mediocre tracks of James that was skipped, I mean, I really felt it wasn't skippable. I mean, it was only like 10 songs in there, but all of them, in one way or another hit. So that's why I had to rank Illmatic over Reasonable Doubt. Not saying that Reasonable Doubt wasn't dope, but going by that criteria, I had to give it to Nas on that one.
Okay. It's a fair assessment. So Damo, round one, how did you score it and why?
Man, I feel like J. Cole when he came out. I feel like I let Nas down.
Hold on, wait. Wait. Okay, explain. First of all, how did you score it?
Well, first of all, we know how I scored it, so that's why I really didn't even like Jay-Z because of this beef for a long time. So even though I felt like Reasonable Doubt was a classic, I gave it to Illmatic because, Nas is my favorite, so we gonna pick favorite. But then around the same time that the beef got squashed, around the same time, I said, let me listen to Jay more. So going back, which I always, Reasonable Doubt get played regularly, just like Illmatic. Those are votes and probably will always be in NBTC forever. Those we keep letting the youngins know about them albums right there. Those are classics. Mm-hmm. I scored it 10-9, Jay.
So,
and both of them lyrics top notch. You ain't gonna take lyrics from either one. I'm gonna say, his lyrics was trash. That's why I scored it. It was hard. I could have just threw a dart at the board, but I don't know. I felt going back, Reasonable Doubt spoke to me more. You know what I'm saying? It spoke to me more than Illmatic did. I love Illmatic, and you said Illmatic is your favorite. You feel like this is classic, and then I kind of feel like it was probably better than Illmatic as a whole body of work. So I went 10-9 Reasonable Doubt.
Wow. Okay. Well, you know what?
I let Nas down.
Yeah, I think you did. but you know what? I don't know if I can't really argue with you on that, because to me, I think that when you're talking about best rap albums of all time, they're in the same category, right near the same positions, at least for me. So I scored the round 10-9 as well for Nas. These are two of the best rap albums of all time. As a matter of fact, if you're talking about top 20, these are in your top 20. These are arguably probably in your top 10 of all time rap albums. And this is just from me speaking from my frame of reference. I know there's some older heads that will bring up some older classics, but to me, when I talk about top 10 rap albums of all time, these are both in my top 10. Illmatic goes without saying. The production on there, it's ridiculous, the producers that produced on there. And there was only one famous guest appearance, like he said on Got Yourself a Gun. My debut album only had one guest appearance. That was it.
Oh crap!
And so to me, the impact is really what I went with it. I love Dead Presidents. I think overall, I've probably played these two albums are probably in my top 5 played albums of all time as far as the times that I've played them. I had this Reasonable Doubt album, and I thought it was a classic before anybody else did in my circle of friends. I really did. I thought it was a classic back in 96, which I know was forbidden because we're saying you got to let albums breathe. I thought it was a classic back then. Both of these albums are stacked top to bottom. The work on here, in particular by Primo on both albums, and then the work by Clark Kent and also by Ski. And Ski, to me, what I think is made one of the best rap beats of all time, with the way that he took Lonnie Liston Smith, Gardens of Peace, and flipped that for Dead Presidents, and also taking Nas' sample from from The World Is Yours for Dead Presidents Part 2.
And then giving Jay-Z ammo for Takeover.
Yeah, yes, he did. And but to me, I think when I talk about the difference for this between the two, there's only one track on Dead Presidents I think is the reason why I give Illmatic the nod. And that's track number 9 on Reasonable Doubt. It's Ain't No Nigga. And that was a big song for Jay-Z. But if we want to talk about the worst songs on the album, that's probably the worst song on that album. Nas doesn't have an equivalent to that on Illmatic. So when you're talking about head-to-head matchup, if I have to ding a point for Reasonable Doubt, it's for that track. And it's a good track. I mean, it's tend to be a classic track, some people in some respects, but I think it's the worst track on that album. I think a lot of people would agree with that. So because of that, I scored the round. Round 1, 10-9 for Nas. So round 1, I scored at 10-9. Jay has scored at 10-9. Damo has scored at 10-9 for Reasonable Doubt. Me and Jay for Nas. So that's round number 1. Interesting. Nothing you can really debate with there. So now we get into round 2. Round number 2, we have Nas's It Was Written and Jay-Z's In My Lifetime Volume 1. So particulars about each album. Nas It Was Written, released July 2nd, 1996. Runtime of 58 minutes and 29 seconds. The producers on this album, you had primarily produced by Trackmasters, also produced by LES, The Live Squad, Rashad Smith, Dr. Dre, and also Primo. That was released in 96, a week after Reasonable Doubt came out. For In My Lifetime, was released November 4th, 1997. Runtime of 58 minutes. The producers on this, you had Jazzo, you had Primo, Buck Wild, D-Dot, Poke and Tone, Teddy Riley. You also had Stevie J, and then Diddy did some production on this as well. So these were the second albums for each one of these artists. And that's pretty much where we stand out. So It Was Written versus In My Lifetime Volume 1. This to me is where I think the conversation gets a little bit interesting. So we're going to go around and get the scorecards for round number 2. So I'll start with you now, actually, Damo. Round number 2, It Was Written versus In My Lifetime Volume 1. How did you score it and why?
I think really mine is, I scored all mine the same on the body of the work, the whole album. Listening to it, the conciseness of the album. We ain't gonna go with, like, lyrics don't have to be taken out. These are 2 punches right here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? These are 2 punches. So we get, you know what? Lyrically he was trash, but everybody's gonna you're gonna get a good line here, there that stands out. But I'm listening for the whole body of work. I went 10-9. It was possibly, he was thinking 10-8. But I went 10-9. I felt like, and of course, I feel like, It Was Written was a classic album. I don't think In My Lifetime is a classic album. It's all right, and it almost got that nigga dropped, but, here and there. But, nah, it was written as a classic album to me. You know what I'm saying? It's another one that goes right there that you got to listen to.
Yeah. Okay. So 10-9 for Nas in round number 2. Jay, how did you score round number 2 with It Was Written versus In My Lifetime Volume 1?
Yeah, so actually, I did 10-7, but I'm in favor of Nas. And
10-7 round.
This nigga went 10-7.
Wow. Okay. All right. So explain.
Damn.
All right. So explain.
It was good, but I'm not gonna put it up there as a classic. Definitely not on the same conversation as Illmatic, but I guess with you, Dom, looking at the complete body of work, it was written. I mean, in my opinion, it was kind of a little bit too eager to try to play to both audiences as far as the underground, and then you had the more polished Trackmasters joints. If I Ruled, I think they did If I Ruled the World. I mean, which was dope.
If I Ruled the World was on it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then but the thing that gave It Was Written the edge over me. Well, let me talk about why I picked it over In My Lifetime, because I felt like In My Lifetime it was kind of trying to bite off the whole Biggie Bad Boy thing, with that whole Jiggy era and the shiny suits and that, you know what I mean,
that's why I said 10-8. 10-7.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's why I ranked it there. And I mean, In My Lifetime had a couple joints I rock with off the the joint Where I'm From, and I mean, y'all might look at me crazy, but I actually like the production on the joint Sunshine, even though the video looked crazy as hell. But yeah, back It Was Written. I mean, I gave it. I mean, I ranked that because Nas probably had one of the best concept songs ever made, in my opinion, which was I Gave You Power.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to the year of 96, I mean, that's pretty much where Pac got the concept of Me and My Girlfriend from, was I Gave You Power. That was actually confirmed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So along with that, and I'm trying to think what else on the It Was Written joint. The Message I was rocking with.
Oh, him and Dre.
What else? Affirmative Action, even on that damn drug equation and Fox Hickey, when it did not add up, because I remember listening to that shit back in the day and trying to do the math on it, hold up, what happened to the other 16 grams? I You would think I was in a damn drug deal or some shit, like trying to figure shit out.
Hold up, nah, nigga, this shit ain't adding up.
Like, hold up, click, clack, where my other shit at?
Right.
So along with those joints standing out, there was just like, I can't even call the name of them right this second, but like it was other joints that I felt could have been left on the cutting room floor, but like those joints I named were just so good, it just gave the overall edge over in my lifetime. So that's why, that's why I didn't give that rating.
You didn't give him an edge. You got Jay getting slaughtered in that round.
Yeah, he got Jay getting knocked down twice in that round.
Twice. Yep.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? I agree with him though. So let me preface this by saying I think one of the biggest lies that we were told over the last 20 plus years is that in the beginning when it first came out, that people were saying that It Was Written was not a classic. But I think now as time has gone on, people realize, and I realize, that it's a classic album to me. Now, in this matchup between It Was Written and In My Lifetime, I'm going to mirror sort of what Jay said, and I scored it as a 10-8 round. And I scored it as a 10-8 round.
I thought it was 10-8 too.
Yeah.
I
scored it as a 10-8 round because to me, It Was Written, while I don't think necessarily in particular lyrically was he better than he was on Illmatic, but I do think he did switch the style up, but it was still Nas. And it was still exceptionally lyrically. But then production-wise, a lot of people had a lot of criticism about the track masters, but I thought there were some great work on here by Dre, by Havoc, also by Rashad Smith. In My Lifetime, I do agree with you, Jay. I felt like Jay sort of went a little bit for that jiggy era. Now, there are some great songs on In My Lifetime. There's the intro, A Million and One Questions, Rhyme No More, which was done by Primo. The Imaginary Player, Streets Is Watching, Friend of Foe 98, Who You With, all that. Like, Where I'm From, You Must Love Me, all that stuff was all like, but then you get to me, which I think were the lowlights on here, which was I Know What Girls Like and Sunshine.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
And it was just like, what the fuck is Jay? I remember when listening to this back in 97, like, what the fuck is Jay doing? Like, I didn't get this shit for this. Where the fuck is this shit that we saw Reasonable Doubt? Why change the formula? So, because I think It Was Written was such an exceptional album, and because we're doing this is the matchup, I scored it as a 10-8 round for Nas and for It Was Written.
Before we started, I looked at it. Damn, I should have scored that one 10-8.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you still had them winning the round, but some people are going to vary. Obviously, we varied. You did 10-9. I did 10-8. Jay did 10-7. So,
yeah.
So,
I saw 10. Right before we started, I said, I should have went 10-8 with that one.
Yeah. So, all right. So, round number 2, I scored at 10-8. Damo scored at 10-9. Jay scored at 10-7. All in favor of Nas. So, now we get into round 3. Buckle up, boys and girls, because it's going to get a lot more interesting from here on out. So in round number 3, we move from this to I Am versus Nas versus Hard Knock Life Volume Number 2 by Jay-Z. So the particulars of each album. I Am with Nas, released April 6, 1999. Runtime of 64 minutes and 54 seconds. Production by LES, by Premier, by Trackmasters, by Timbaland, by Dame Grease, Nashim Myrick, and then also 6 July. The production on Hard Knock Life, released September 29th, 1998. Runtime of 61 minutes and 43 seconds. Production by Irv Gotti, by Jermaine Dupri, by the Mark the 45 King, DJ Premier, Eric Sermon, Stevie J, Swiss Beats, Timbaland, and that was, again, released in 1998. So here we are, round number 3, I Am versus Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, guys. So let's get into how we scored it. I'll start this time with you, Jay. How did you score this round number 3 between I Am and Hard Knock Life, and why?
I actually did 10-9, and I did this one in favor of Jay-Z.
What?
And I'm going to tell you why, because, like, basically with I Am, again, and I felt it was a step up. It was written. You know what I'm saying? That joint definitely had bangers on that. I rock with, like, like probably one of my favorite beats, New York State of Mind 2, just because like how dark that joint got and like how vivid he got with the story, like, with everything. But at the same time, I still felt there was still that attempt at commercial appeal. And one of the things that kind of appealed to me with Nas, like, honestly, and I guess since Illmatic was like not caring about that, but then it seems like it was an attempt made by that, at least as far as how I viewed it. But then I put Hard Knock Life over there, basically because that album to me marked Jay-Z kind of coming to his senses. You know what I mean? Like as far as getting off of that jiggy vibe and then finding that place between like, you know, that middle ground, like stuff you know is gonna bang on the streets and bang in the clubs, and then like, you know, even the joints that didn't necessarily like get radio play. I mean, yeah, like the Hard Knock Life joint, you know what I'm saying, that was like one of the most vicious samples I ever heard in my life. And like Nigga What, Nigga Who, and I would give that off the strength of Jazz O, because like I stayed like trying to recite that his whole bar, like, you know, his whole verse on that joint back in the day.
Yeah.
Money Cash Hoes and all like that. But then the joint, If I Should Die, Don't Cry, My Niggas, Just Rob My Niggas, Bust Bullets in the Sky, My Niggas. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and just thinking how he was talking about Big on that joint, and yeah, I mean, it just seemed like he kind of like just, I don't know who might have like talked some sense into him as far as like saying like, this is how you need to bring it for the streets, and like this is how it should go, you know. And another thing, as far as like Nigga What, Nigga Who, like him kind of even reverting back to his old sound, you know, like he was on between like everything after Hawaiian Sophie but before Reasonable Doubt, that fast rapping, that rapid fire staccato flow, which he brought on that joint. So he was just able just to blend that all perfectly. So that's why I had to give it to Jay-Z.
All right, so you scored 10-9 for Jay-Z, round number 3. Damo, how did you score the round between I Am and Volume 2 Hard Knock Life, and why?
I scored it 10-9 now. You know, my criteria is still the same. Well, this round 3, right?
Yeah.
10-9 now. No, I scored it 10-9. I still felt like it was a better album. I Am was a better album than Hard Knock Life. You know, he had Hard Knock had a couple of, had some radio smashes on there, of course, over than I Am did. But you know, if you listen to the whole album just went better, I Am, to me, than Hard Knock Life. So I went 10-9.
Okay.
Shit, yeah, we lucky we doing it. We lucky we doing this now, because I was all Nas biased. This shit would have been 10-8 all the way down. I'd have been one of them judges like, how the hell he scored that shit 10-8?
Yeah, exactly.
and he got knocked down, and he still gave it to him 10-8.
Right.
But yeah, listening to it now, I see 10-9. No.
Okay.
This album, yeah.
Okay, so I actually scored this round number 3, 10-9 for Jay. Hard Knock Life over I Am. So let me again also preface this. This I Am was not the I Am that was supposed to have come out. And I don't know if you guys are privy to what happened with I Am, but the original I Am was supposed to have been a double disc. It was supposed to include so many of the different tracks that showed up, well, some of them on this I Am album, but then some of the other ones that showed up that eventually were on, some of them on Nostradamus, and then the majority of what was on Lost Tapes. If I ever show you guys that track list, this is why this was a game changer. If that double disc I Am came out, I think we wouldn't even be having this conversation as far as, or the conversation wouldn't even been in play in regards to who was better. Because the track listing for that track, it would have been like, bam, in my opinion, Nas would have released 3 straight classics right out of the gate. And then it wouldn't even been a conversation about who was better between Nas and Jay at that particular time, because it wouldn't have been a conversation, at least in my opinion. Now, be that what it was, because the album got leaked and it got bootlegged, the record company had to change things up, and there were some decisions made on tracks that needed to be recorded, not just for this one, but Nas's next album, that were things that I didn't necessarily agree with. So I'll say this. On Volume 2, I agree with you, Jay. That's where I think Jay sort of came to his senses. He started to get into that balance of stuff for the street and then also stuff for the club. There are some great tracks on there. Hard Knock Life, like you said, one of the best damn samples being flipped into an actual song. That is something that endures to today. Nigga What, Nigga Who, Money Cash Hoes, the Coming of Age sequel with Memphis Bleak, which I think is one of the best songs the two of them have done together. It's right up there with the original for me. You know, Paper Chase, you know, the whole thing about, you know, If I Should Die, Reservoir Dogs with Locks, Beanie Siegel, and Sauce Money. It's All Right, which was another standout track between Bleak and them, and then Money Ain't a Thing. While it was a commercial track, I think it was a cool track between him and JD. This is actually Jay's best-selling album. This has sold the most records out of any other Jay-Z album out there, which is crazy because you would think it would probably be some other album, right? But no, this one is. As far as I Am is concerned, I thought that it was good, but there were some missteps on here to me. To me, I didn't necessarily care about the joint with Dalia. You Won't See Me Tonight. I didn't necessarily care for Money Is My Bitch. I didn't necessarily care for even the KISSING, which took the R. Kelly joint for When a Woman's Fed Up. There were a few missteps on this for me. There were some great tracks. I love, like you said, Jay, love that remake of New York State of Mind, the way that beat, definitely how Primo took almost the same beat, but then just, I mean, and then, the Favor for a Favor with Scarface. Oh, man. The Life Is What You Make It featuring DMX. I Want to Talk to You, Ghetto Prisoners, like things that were really great, but I think that it just fell short. So because of this was the album that Jay really started to find the balance between for the streets and for commercially. And because I think he took that step back up from me, in my opinion, from volume 1, I score this a 10-9 round for Jay in round number 3. So I scored a 10-9 in favor for Jay, as did Jay. And then Damo scores at 10-9 for Nas. So that's round number 3. Into round number 4. And round number 4, we have for Nas, Nostradamus, and for Jay, Volume 3, Life and Times of Sean Carter, Volume 3. Particulars of each album. Nostradamus was released November 23rd, 1999. Runtime of 62 minutes and 43 seconds. Produced by LES, by Havoc, by Primo, by Timbaland, and also by Rich Nice and Dame Grease. Volume number 3 was released December 28th, 1999. Runtime of 71 minutes and 5 seconds. Produced by Primo, by Lil Rob, by Roc-a-Fella, by Timbaland, by Swiss Beats, by Lance Un Rivera, which is ironic, the fact that he did production on this, by Irv Gotti. So there was a lot of production on here, that this was really Jay-Z's last album for me before he did the transition. Now we're going to go into how you scored it. So I'll go and start with you, Damo. How did you score round number 4 with Nostradamus versus Volume 3, Life and Times of Sean Carter? How did you score it and why?
10-9, Jay.
Okay. And why?
This is actually one of my favorite albums of Jay-Z. Lifetime of Sean Carter, Volume 3. I like the whole album, for real. It ain't too many songs that on here that I skipped through. It's a good body of work. They did good on this one. He knew, you could tell that now he know who in this album, he know who he is. It's like he comfortable now. And then, I don't know what the fuck Nas is doing with Nostradamus. And you know what? I probably was biased, for real. I probably could have scored this motherfucker 10-8, but I still got my love for my guy, so
Gotcha.
Yeah, 10-9.
10-9. Okay.
Yeah, I scored a 10-9, Jay.
All right, so Jay, what say you? How did you score round number 4, Nostradamus versus Volume 3, and why?
Okay, since I'm about to be the asshole again, 10-7 in favor of Jay-Z.
God damn. This nigga Jay don't play.
Yeah.
God damn, Jay.
In this matchup, I'm sorry.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, not that I really need to piggyback off Dom, but, sorry, Nostradamus is one that just could have been completely left on the cutting room floor.
Yes.
So I don't know if, I don't know if he was trying to, pull a DMX in that sense. No, well, because I'm pretty, because I Am came out in 99. I believe this came out in 99, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this came out in 99. So, he wasn't able to create that same spark as far as DMX, as far as, having 2 bangers in 1 year like this. So I do remember the singles. I mean, even the joint, Nasty Nas to Esco, Nostradamus. I mean, that joint, man. Then,
hot trash.
Yeah, so, I mean, that, and then the joint was that you a big girl now. I mean, I know a bracket of girls like the joint, but that's not some joint that, the homies going to sit around and listen to. Not to say it's all based on that, but even for a joint, aimed at, the female audience, that joint just didn't really seem all that great to me, you know what I'm saying? So, but then to compare it up against Life of Times of Sean Carter Volume 3, just the intro, and then, I mean, yeah, and the joint Do It Again, which I could even ding, DC being a go-go fan that he bit from Ray Assens, you know what I'm saying? That whole 12 a.m. or
Yeah.
the club, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But then probably one of my favorite joints off the album, It's Hot, Some Like It Hot, just for the fact that beat is just so basic.
Yeah.
But Timbaland just like cites it to where, you know,
those claps, man.
Yeah, like, they clap behind that snare and like, you know what I mean? Just and then the joint he did with Mariah Carey, that Swiss beat style production where like the beat kind of like sings along with the whoever is singing the hook.
Mm-hmm.
It's the things that joint like and Big Pimpin'.
Yeah.
And then and I don't even know people like rock with this joint, but like that joint on there, There's Been a Murder, like just the energy of that beat is just
yes, sir.
Just like dope to me. But like well yeah, I mean I guess I could just stop right there. I mean, but up against Nostradamus, this is like light years better. So
yeah.
You know, I mean, the reason why I went 10-9 was because of the "Come Get Me" song and on Nostradamus, where I know he's talking to Jay. He said, "Come get me." What the fuck you say, girly mouth? When your girl say my name, you give him the side eye. I said, hold on, I know who you talking about, nigga.
Yeah, you talking to Nas.
Yeah. So the Nas was talking to Jay. I said, but then, you know, you got the joint with Mobb Deep on there, and you got a couple of other cuts on there that I like. The whole album. You know, I went the whole album. You had them joints that you could have thrown away. But, yeah, that's why I went 10-9. That's why I didn't kill it the way you killed it, Jay.
Nah, but like, and I just thought about something else, like, okay, yeah, like, I guess, like, it could be, you know, said I killed the joint, but, like, and I guess, like, the thing, like, because remember, like, you know, that was 99, because, like, I remember I was up at Lincoln University, and, like, you know, like, back during that time, like, people would get, like, the bootleg joint, or, like, the ones that, like, had tracks that were left off the album.
Yeah.
If they would have put the joint Anything, which was somehow ended up on Beanie Siegel's album, you know, it was like a Oliver Twist or whatever kind of sample. If they would have put that on there, and Is That Your Bitch on there, where it was just him and Twista just murdering that track, I'd probably get you like a 10-3 or something, bro. Like, for real.
He's at 10-3. Hey, that's wild, man.
Dude, it's like, because one, I mean, again, it was a throwback to Jay-Z's old rapper style that Twista just came in and just like nuclear bomb obliterated that joint. So
yeah, that's your chick. Yeah, I remember that joint. Yeah. So yeah, it's I scored this joint 10-8 for Jay for volume 3. And let me say this. This is a good album by Jay. Like I said, it's a good album. It has some great tracks on there, a good mix of production on Life and Times of Sean Carter. Like you said, great joints with, for me, I love So Ghetto, that beat by Primo, you know, that Roc-a-Fella joint for Do It Again, Dope Man, which is one of my favorite Jay-Z songs, I think, because of that oh man, that goodness, like the narrative about the court case, you know what I'm saying? It's Hot, like you said, produced by Timbaland, those claps, you know, Big Pimpin', the Watch Me featuring Dre. I mean, it's a lot of, like I said, he really kind of settled in, Damo, like you said, to who he was. Nostradamus. Now, again, this is a part of the I Am double disc that was scrapped, that got put out. So the label decided to put out a revised version of I Am, then decided to drop Nostradamus a few months after I Am came out. So on this aren't some of the tracks that were supposed to be on the original I Am, but altogether, this album, what did you say during last week's Damo? That shit that had me crying, laughing, hot, soft, baby shit. That's what this album is to me. This joint is soft baby shit. Talking about some wrap the diaper up in a plastic bag, then put it in a bag, then wrap it up and put it in the trash can the night before the trash is supposed to go out. Not the morning, but the night before. Like, that's how bad the diaper smells with soft baby shit. There are some good
material.
There are some good tracks on this album. I loved Project Windows. I loved, you know, Last Words. I love the Family joint with Mobb Deep. But there are some tracks on here that I'm just like, God damn it, Nas. And I'm with you, Dom. I'm a Nas fan. So when this album came out, I was just like, yo, I can't believe this nigga put some shit out like this.
Yeah, that's what I remember that feeling when I heard it. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I remember talking to you about this, Damo, when we were in school, and when this joint came out, I remember when I came to you and you was like, yo, what you think? I was like, man, I don't know. I was like, man, I don't know.
And before Dave Chappelle made it with the thumbs down, we did that in high school.
Yeah.
We would tap you and give you the thumbs down if you did that. And I remember giving you the look like, yeah.
This joint thumbs down.
Go ahead and do it.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down, yeah. So because of that and because of this matchup, it's not, well, Volume 3 is a good album. It's even a very good album, but this is a terrible, I might even say this is one of the 2 worst albums that Nas has put out. It is, which is saying something. So I scored this 10-8. So I scored it 10-8 for Jay. You scored it 10-9 for Jay, Damo, and Jay scored it 10-7. 10-7. So the fight's starting to get interesting, guys. All right. So now we're going into round number 5. So in round number 5, we have Stillmatic for Nas, and we have in round number 5 is the Dynasty Roc-a-Fella album for Jay. Okay? So particulars about Stillmatic, released December 18, 2001, runtime of 56 minutes and 34 seconds. Producers on here, you had, of course, Ron Browse, Salaam Remi, Track Masters, Large Professor, LES, Primo, Chucky Thompson. You know, these are the people that produced for Stillmatic. For Dynasty Roc-a-Fella, released October 31st, 2000, one of the albums we're going to be reviewing this year. Runtime of 66 minutes and 35 seconds. Produced, of course, on here, this is where Jay really took a turn. Producers on here, Just Blaze, Neptunes, Rick Rock, Rottweiler, and at that time, a guy from Chicago that nobody knew, Kanye West. So
classic on Jay album.
Yeah. So this is where we're at. So round number 5, Stillmatic versus the Dynasty Roc-a-Fella. So I'll go ahead and start with you, Jay. How did you score round number 5 and why?
I gave it to Stillmatic. And due to Jay apparently not finding himself again, did 10-7 for Nas on this one.
God damn.
10-7 round.
So
why?
You might want to leave me off the joint where y'all review the Roc-a-Fella joint.
All right, so why? Why did you give this 10-7 to Stillmatic?
I mean, because Stillmatic, I mean, impact-wise, like, you know, this is like, this joint had the joint Ether on there, but then also with that, you know, it kind of like lit a fire on the Nas as far as like, you know, let me get back to my senses, you know, I mean, especially since Takeover was so venomous. And then, you know, just like the concept, just like the overall tracks on there, like, you know, Ether and then the Rewind joint, as far as like concepts, you know, like the Rewind joint and then like One Mic, I mean, just like those tracks and I mean, just like the overall, what was another joint there? Like the Second Childhood, because I mean that gritty ass Primo production, like the Dynasty Roc-a-Fella. The reason I really kind of ding that one's because I feel like Jay-Z tried to pass it off as more like a compilation as opposed to an actual solo joint. Yeah. Take credit for your fecal matter here, sir. Like, you know what I mean? Like just as opposed to fecal matter. Maybe we need to put a disclaimer because I might be getting a little bit too ignorant this episode. But but yeah, I didn't like. I mean, my thing is like, if Nas could take credit for Nostradamus, I mean, Jay should take credit for this, like not really being what it could have been. Like, so that's why I had to give it to Stillmatic.
Okay. All right. So Damo, what about you? How did you score this?
Actually, Roc-a-Fella is one of my favorite albums from Jay.
Really?
It's one of my favorite 5. You know, it's in my top 5 of his. I might have to look at it again, but I think it's one of the ones that I do go back and listen to just about as much as Reasonable Doubt.
Okay.
So it was kind of hard for me to judge this one, and I'm just listening to both albums. I'm not. If I just wanted to go off of Ether, I would have went 10-9. Nah. Okay. Because that Ether gave it enough to make it go 10-9. But when I listened to the whole album, I went 10-9 Jay.
Okay. Interesting take.
And that was my score. I felt like Roc-a-Fella was a better album altogether. I didn't feel like it was Stradamus. I felt like he was trying to bring some of the young boys out, give them a little bit of shine. But his, like I said, he's talking about punches with lyrics, so his lyrics were still there. He felt like he still had the same comfort he had from he wasn't under pressure of making an album like he was early in his career. He on steady ground, so I felt like it was a good album from him, and I went 10-9.
That is an interesting take. I scored this 10-9 for Nas as well. To me, when I look at classic albums, I think Nas has for sure 3 surefire classics, certified classics. I think it's Illmatic, It Was Written, and Stillmatic. I think those are the ones that for sure are classics in my mind. And Stillmatic, I think, was an incredible album. So we talked a couple of weeks ago, we did LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out. That was his comeback album. This, to me, is Nas's comeback album. It really, he just had to remind niggas just how much of a god he was still on the mic. And
I agree with you.
And, the fact that the songs on there, Ether, Got Yourself a Gun, Smoking, Rewind, so many different tracks. Second Childhood, One Mic, which is, how can we forget about that track, One Mic? I remember being just amazed when he did that track. The Flyest with AZ, which is another one of my favorite collabos between them. It's one of Nas's best albums. And I think that he definitely stepped up. And then production-wise, everybody stepped up as well. And he went back to Primo. He went back to LES. He went back to Large Professor. So, to me, that's what really brought the album back over the top. Dynasty Rock La Familia, to me, I think is a very good album. And I think with Jay and Biggs and Dame deciding to step up, to go away from Primo, to go away from Ski, to go away from, the producers they used before in the past, and then going and giving the Neptunes a chance to produce, which they gave them a smash. Which, Jay, you remember when we were in Morgan, how big that I Just Want to Love You song was. That was a huge song. But then to see the production by Kanye West for that This Can't Be Life joint, that definitely is in my top 10 of Jay-Z tracks of all the tracks he's done all the time, because you got 3 great verses and that track that is just ridiculous. Just Blades with Streets is Talking, the Parking Lot Pimpin', so it's... there's
V, you sound like you want to give it a 10. V, come on over to the dark side.
But here's the thing. There's still some songs on here that I think, as far as deep cuts, that bring this album down. And because it's technically a Jay solo album, it's really a compilation, as you stated. It really has a lot of different guest spots on here, and I think that's where, when some of the guest spots, things start to fall. Beanie Siegel had a big part in this album. Beanie Siegel shined in every single verse on this joint. And this is where, when we talk about,
you know what? I think that's why I made it 10-9.
Yeah. And so this is where I think we got the fuel for that "Compared to Beans, You Whack" line for Nas and Ether. I think he definitely got the fuel from this because Beans was in top form on this album. So the production, but again, some of the other tracks on here, and there are 16 tracks on this, they could have taken 2 or 3 tracks on this, and this might be considered one of Jay's classics to me, but it's not. And so for that, I give the edge to Stillmatic. So that's round number 5. I scored it 10-9 for Nas. Damo scored it 10-9 for Jay. And Jay actually scored it. We have another 10-7 round in favor of Nas. So that's round number 5.
I think Mayweather in Jay pocket, man. This sounds like a Golden Boy Productions fight.
Yeah, that's so funny. All right, guys. So let's get into round number 5. Round number 6. Excuse me.
Number 6.
So on this round, we have Godsons by Nas, and we have The Blueprint by Jay. So particulars for each album: Godson released December 13, 2002. This was runtime of 57 minutes and 6 seconds. The producers on this had The Alchemist, had Chucky Thompson, had Eminem, had Ron Browse, and Salaam Remi. The Blueprint, come on, you know the particulars of this album already. Released September 11th, 2001. With a runtime of 63 minutes and 25 seconds. The producers on this: Bank, Eminem, Just Blaze, Poke and Tone, Luis Resto, Kanye West, and Timbo. So here we are for round number 6 between Godson and Blueprint. So I'll start with you, Jay. What do you say? How did you score round number 6 between Godson and Blueprint, and why?
I actually gave this one to I gave this one to Jay-Z, and I actually did honestly 10-9.
Okay.
What?
Like,
Okay. And why? Why did you score it that way?
Blueprint, I would say I would have to put it up there as far as like classic status, as far as like Jay's albums, and even like everything going on with it. Because I don't think this obviously wasn't a bar on the album, but Brian, you remember he kept saying like, yeah, one of the bars was like, yeah, my album dropped the same day as the Twin Towers, like just like that element of everything going on. Matter of fact, I remember that day I bought the album. I was in the bookstore, like down to that dungeon of a bookstore we had in McKeldin. McKeldin. Yeah, so bought the joint and then like took it back to doing bumping. You know what I'm saying? It was nice. But yeah, of course, it had Takeover on there, Girls, and the joint You Don't Know, like, which I think is like one of Just Blaze's sickest beats ever. Like, matter of fact, 'cause I remember one time, and I don't know if you had this experience, Brian, like, you know what I'm saying, your folks in the military, but like when they go to the commissary to go shopping and all like that. But like, it was like I would always make a beeline to the electronics section, and they just happened to be bumping the joint on KYS, like how the joint just came through all those speakers at that. You don't know what you do, and it just goes. Psh, psh. I was like, yeah. That was like I was like in a trance moment at that point. I was like, though I need this album like now. Like what the hell's going on? And it's like right before I came back up to Morgan. You know what I'm saying? To go. You know what I'm saying, for school started. So along with that, Renegade. You know what I mean? Like Song Cry was on there. Even the Ola Jovito joint, and yeah, H to the Izzo. I don't think it was any misses on this album, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Nah.
But then, then in contrast, like Godson, Godson, I believe, came out like a year later. Even the joint, it's kind of funny. Like people were like knocking Godson, like they weren't really feeling it, but I was rocking with like, the joint Get Down, The Cross. Which kind of like, I don't want to say it was his debut, but like a showcase kind of like Eminem actually producing the beat, and then being a well-rounded album, the joint I Know I Can. I know it's like more like an inspirational joint using the kids and everything like that, which was dope. But my joint on Godson probably for me like would be my book of rhymes. I just thought that concept was just so insane. Like, he's just flipping through his rhyme book, like, you know what I'm saying, just like starting to say around like, nah, shit is weak. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, keep that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, the fuck, like, shit. Like, I'd have been digging the trash can, like, bruh, like, you need to put this back in your book. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, and the joint, If Heaven Was a Mile Away, what was it? Oh, the joint Thug's Mansion.
Yeah, buddy.
And of course, I gotta get to the Pac because of his verse, and like, of course, Pac had been gone for some years at this point, but then like to be rapping from the perspective of being in heaven, I was like, dude, you like really cemented yourself, like, cause who?
Exactly.
And it probably contributed to his demise. You say if you speak about death will come, and then, you know what I'm saying, for him to be like right there and to come out posthumously, just the whole concept of that, and like the joint Mama, as far as the emotional aspect, because I think he had just lost his mother around that time.
Yeah, she did die.
And but yeah, just like and again, it wasn't really aiming to be like a party joint or whatever. It was like, it was just showcasing different emotions and storytelling ability, and just concept wise too. Because people sleeping. Nas got some like ill concept records, like I Gave You Power, Book of Rhymes, Rewind, like I was saying before. But like, just like, it just kind of like just goes along with that.
Yeah. Okay. So you scored that 10-9 for Jay. All right. Well, Damo, what say you between round number 6 between Godson and the Blueprint?
Round number 6, Godson and Blueprint. I went 10-8 Jay.
Okay. Why?
I feel like Blueprint is definitely one of Jay's classic albums. I felt like Godson was like Nas falling back off of Skillmatic.
Interesting.
Like he fell back down. Yeah, he gave us a couple of Jones on there. You're like, oh yeah, but the whole album together, it's just alright. So you get hit for having a good album before the next album. You know what I'm saying? And then I listen to Blueprint. Blueprint is the shit.
Yes. Yeah.
So this was one where I was like, you know what? Yeah, 10-8 Jay.
Okay. So I scored a 10-8 for Jay as well. And it's not because I think Godson is a bad album. It's not. It's I think a great album, actually. No, actually, I scored this 10-9 for Jay. Excuse me. I think that Godson, while not a Nas classic, I think it is one of those albums that we consider to be a great album. Great tracks, of course, like you said, Jay. Get Down, Made You Look by Salam Remy. I mean, that in the remix with Jadakiss and with Luda. I Can, of course, the great and the novel concept of that. It's a very inspirational track for kids. The Book of Rhymes. Thug's Mansion might actually be my favorite track on here because Pac's verse and then the first verse that Nas started saying that, I'm capable of anything my imagination can bring. I mean, it's just, just being able to see. And it's like one of those things where you think about like, if Nas and Pac had been beefing, and word is that, they were looking to squash their beef right before Pac died, because as Nas tells the story, he saw Pac in New York the week before the fight in Vegas, and they actually not sat down, but they were together. Both, they had people with them, and Pac kind of approached Nas about something, and Nas approached Pac, and they was just like, yo, well, look, I don't know where you got that shit from, but like, yo, how about we sit down and talk? So then Pac was like, all right, bet, I'm going to be in Vegas next week for the Tyson fight. Come out, come talk to me. And he never got the chance. That was really, again. And so, the whole thing about dance and about heaven, but when it comes to Blueprint, come on, man. Like this, Jay knows this. This was like a soundtrack to our times at Morgan State University.
Absolutely.
Like, and this album came out the same day as 9/11, and it kind of got swept up in the fact that it was the same day as 9/11. Like, it wasn't until a couple of days afterwards that you started to hear the sounds from this from people's dorms rooms and riding around campus, because then people finally caught on. Oh shit, Jay's album came out. This to me is one of Jay's classics albums. I mean, yeah. Never Change, H to the Izzo, Girls, Song Cry, Takeover. I mean, Renegade, At Heart of the City. It's one of Jay's classics, man. This is one of those albums. It's just like, yo, I'll never get tired of playing this joint. And the production on there, man, between Kanye and Just Blaze and Poke and Tone and Timbo. I mean, come on, man. It's this is to me the reason why I scored it 10-9. I think if this was maybe any other album other than my 3J classics, which are Reasonable Doubt, Blueprint, and Black Album, that I think Nas wins that round. But he doesn't, because this is one of Jay's classics. So that's why I scored it. So I scored it 10-9 for Jay. Also 10-9, you did 10-9, right, Jay, for this as well? For Jay, and then also Damo, you scored this. Once again, you said you had a 10-8 for Jay. Yeah. So Jay wins that one. I don't think you get any argument for that. Well, and there you have it. Rounds 1 through 6 completed. Some pretty interesting takes, I'm pretty sure many of you will say right now. As you can see, we definitely don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. The three of us did, but we had a lot of fun doing it. So that is the first part of Tale of the Tape between Nas and Jay-Z. We are going to get into part 2 in our next segment coming out very shortly. Want you guys, of course, to keep remembering to following the Vault Classic Music Reviews on all of our links. If you go to any one of our social media pages, you can check out our link tree that has all of our streaming sources and all of our social media pages. You can find that link tree in the bio in our social media. Again, you can get to us on Instagram on @VaultCMR Podcast, on Twitter @VaultClassic, Facebook and YouTube. You can search the Vault Classic Music Reviews Podcast. Make sure you like the page on Facebook, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and check us out there. And of course, we love the interaction, and we love to be able to hear the interaction of what you thought of the first part of Tale of the Tape, Nas versus Jay-Z. But the second one's coming up, and I guarantee that you want to tune in to see exactly how this thing turned out. So thank you once again for tuning in. Always support the Vault Classic Music Reviews Podcast, and y'all check us out on the other side in part 2 of Tale of the Tape. Peace.
Thank you for listening and coming into The Vault. Please subscribe and follow us on Facebook at IV Creative and Instagram at IVECRE8.